have to make sure if they want to have a strong defensive performance, you got to contain number 13 in green.
27th meeting all time between these teams. UCF has won 3 in a row in the series, including 94-52 here last season. Opening possession, Darius Johnson sets up Keyshawn Hall. 3 around and out, rebounded by Zimi Wokeji. Jacksonville comes in 6-5. This is their 4th game against a power conference opponent, 1-2. Beat Virginia Tech in Blacksburg, lost to Florida and Georgia. There is McCray working off a screen. Chris Arias, freshman, getting the start, and he throws it into the backcourt for a turnover.
Yeah, I mean, Austin, we haven't even been able to get into our keys of the game, but one of them, take care of the basketball. These are the Jacksonville Dolphins. They are the leader in turnovers of all Atlantic Sun teams right now so far.
More than 15 per game for JU. Dolphins picked 5th in the league in the preseason coaches poll. Lipscomb is the favorite in the A-Sun. UCF perfect at home this season. The Knights 8-2 overall. They are 7-0 here at Edition Financial Arena, and this is their final non-conference game of the season. Johnson, step back 3, well short, and it bounces out of bounds to JU. 4th year at the helm of this Jacksonville program for Jordan Mincy. 6 years as an assistant Florida prior to taking this job. Graduate of Kent State, played in 2 NCAA tournaments for the Golden Flashes. And he is a guy that is really highly thought of in the coaching profession, a young coach who you could see at a power program in a couple of years.
Absolutely, Austin. I mean, you can tell by the way his teams play for him and the way that the guys believe in his message night in and night out. Jordan Mincy is one of the bright young coaches in the game.
There's a shot clock violation. Spence and McCray not able to get together and get a shot up. 9th year at UCF for Johnny Dawkins. Inducted into the National Collegiate Basketball Hall of Fame last year. Guided UCF to its first NCAA tournament win in program history. UCF has had a number of slow starts at home this season. On 90 seconds with no scoring. There's Debo Coleman, rejected by McCray.
And that's one of the parts of his game that does not get spoken of a lot. Robert McCray is one of the best perimeter guard shot blockers in all of college basketball. He gets nearly 1 a game, which is unheard of for a guy that's only 6'4".
Preseason player of the year in the A-Sun. Jacksonville deliberate on the offensive end. Shot clock under 5. Wokeji has to hoist it over Darius Johnson. It's off the back rim. And the ball ends up in Johnson's hands. Johnson, quick first step on Spence. Had it poked away, and then a foul call against the Dolphins.
And that's one of the things. If you're going to reach in against Darius Johnson, you have got to make sure that once he loses the basketball, you are very aggressive in trying to take it because he is so strong and physical. I mean, he is built like a running back at the point guard position. When he attacks the hole, it is so hard to take that basketball away from him. And you see right there those broad shoulders, strong traps. It's a guy who spends a little extra time in the weight room.
Ivy Curry's 3 is off. Yeah, Darius Johnson eclipsed the 1,000 career point mark earlier this season. He has not shot it well the last few games. 9 of 31 from the field in the last 3 games.
And most of those misses have come from 2, Austin. He's really struggled to convert some of those shots inside the paint.
Nearly 3 minutes in, no scoring yet. There's a deflection by Ivy Curry. He gets up the floor in a flash and lays it in.
Outstanding job of getting deflection right there by Keyshawn Hall, turning defense into offense for Jordan Ivy Curry.
Johnson steps out on McCray. Stephon Payne puts it on the deck. He's got a size advantage against Hall. The jump hook won't fall.
Yeah, he attempted that shot from a little outside the paint. Would have liked to see him get a little deeper.
Ivy Curry, bounce pass inside. Mustafa Chiam couldn't handle it. And it's out of bounds to Jacksonville.
You see right here, all created by the deflection. And then Keyshawn Hall does a great job of getting his hands getting the ball up the court to Jordan Ivy Curry. We harped on it earlier, but if you're Jacksonville, you cannot allow this Knights team to get out and run and get those easy baskets in transition. Jacksonville is not a high-powered offense. They only average a little over 70 points per game, so they want to keep this game in the low 70s. They do not want to allow the Knights to get up in the 80s, mid-80s, and have this be a track meet.
And UCF's been better defensively as of late, allowing right at 65 points per game in their last 4. Quick hands from Cheam. Here's Hall. Score it, plus the foul.
And it's just so difficult. If you're not going to take care of the basketball, see, now this turns into one-on-one. And when you have high-level Division I college basketball players, they are going to convert these opportunities more times than not. Both of the Knights' baskets, Austin, as we mentioned, have come off of JU turnovers, already 4 for them to start this game. It's just too difficult to contain other teams if you don't take care of the rock.
Early timeout for Jordan Mincy. Jacksonville's attempted only 2 shots. They've turned it over 4 times. Solid start from UCF defensively here on the final game before Christmas.
Their Florida opponents under Coach Johnny Dawkins, going 27-11 with another opportunity to pick up a win tonight against Jacksonville. Speaking with UCF senior DJ, he says the program takes pride in being one of the best in the state of Florida, feeling that UCF has had the opportunity to say that. UCF beat Jacksonville last year at home, so he's expecting them to come in strong with a chip on their shoulder to win. This is the last game before winter break, so DJ wants a win before Christmas. What would you guys say about UCF's in-state victories?
Gabriella, look, UCF has performed really well over the course of the last several years under Coach Dawkins. You played here. What did it mean to you when you had opportunities to go up against Florida, Florida State, Miami, and some of the other in-state schools?
Yeah, I mean, it's really just a bragging rights piece of it, right, Austin? Obviously, for the coaching staff, there's the recruiting element, right? You want to be able to tell potential recruits in the state of Florida that, hey, we usually beat up on other teams in the state. But as a player, it's just bragging rights, man. Usually see these guys in the offseason play pickup together. So it's just one of those kind of game within the game things that you always want to have the upper hand on.
Arias with the runner off the back rim. Payne tried to tip it in, and they'll get Ivy Curry with a foul.
You know, Robert McCray was unable to convert as he went up for that slam, but boy, that would have been quite the highlight if he would have been able to put that down over a defender, but sheesh.
McCray, a state champion high jumper in high school.
That's what I'm getting at. His athleticism, man, is next level. I mean, we talked about his ability to block shots on the defensive end. I mean, he had 4 blocks last time out, Austin, against ETSU. I mean, this is a guy that his offensive prowess gets a lot of the attention, but what really impresses me is the way he can do things on both ends of the floor.
And to give you a sense of how highly thought of he was coming out of high school, Jordan Mincy told us he recruited McCray when he was at Florida.
Okay.
Those were the type of schools that were looking at McCray. Ultimately decided on Wake Forest and has found his way to Jacksonville to close out his college career. JU on the board after the free throw. Darius Johnson lost a handle. McCray, nice behind the back and the finish.
Yeah, just so explosive right there is Robin McCray in the open court. And then the finish with his left hand, the focus and the balance. Just an exceptional move from McCray.
Jordan Mincy talked about how McCray's diversified his game this season, scoring more at all 3 levels, playing a little bit more point guard. Ivy Curry gets into the paint, rises up. Stephon Payne there to challenge. Shot clock down to 1. Coleman gets it off and beats the buzzer with a 3.
A bit of a broken possession right there from UCF. Debo Coleman coming off a high performance down in Sunrise, Florida, coming off a 20-point outburst. Makes his first triple of the night.
It was a season high scoring for him. Also had 9 rebounds in that game, which tied his career high. Foul on the rebounding action will go against Mustafa Chiam.
Yeah, right here, I mean, 2 Knights leave their feet to pass, something you never want to do in basketball, but it works out as Debo Coleman is able to lock and load from the corner.
We haven't seen any subs yet for UCF, but Jalen Sellers and Mikey Williams are both available today. First time this season that both of those guys have been available to get in the game as Stephon Payne hits the mid-range jumper. There's Mikey Williams, the transfer from Memphis. Jalen Sellers, of course, UCF's leading scorer a season ago. Chiam with an answer.
Yeah, and he's capable of making those shots, Austin. I mean, we know him as a shot blocker and a guy that can finish easy plays around the rim, but as he gets more and more comfortable with that 15 to 17 footer, it's just going to make him that much more difficult to guard.
Chiam's been great the last 3 games, averaging nearly 12 points, 8 rebounds, and 5 blocks. The true freshman's got it on the block again against Payne. Steps to the middle, absorbs some contact, and Chiam will head to the line.
See right here is Jordan, as Debo Coleman comes down on the break, he just is able to get the ball into Chiam. And then what I like to see is the poise, right? I like to see the fact that he's patient. He's not rushing when he receives the basketball. He's taking his time down there. You know, early on in the season, Austin, sometimes you could see him playing kind of like a freshman, right? The pace was too much. Things were moving too fast. We're starting to see him settle into the college game a little bit more as non-conference play has moved on.
Still not even 19 years old.
Yeah.
He's added 20 pounds since getting to UCF. And you have to keep reminding people, this is a guy who should be a senior in high school. He reclassified from the class of 25 to the class of 24. Highest ranked recruit in program history, the only 5-star player to sign with UCF right out of high school. Gabby's got more on Mustafa.
Yes, thank you. A freshman that is being compared to UCF legend Taco Fall. He came from the same basketball program that Taco did in Senegal, the Flying Star Academy. UCF coach Mamadou's brother owns the academy, worked alongside Mustafa, training him until he came to the U.S. to play at 16. Like you guys said, Mustafa should be a senior in high school right now, and due to his talent, he was able to reclass. Speaking with him before the game, the hardest adjustment to collegiate basketball has been the physicality of lifting and gaining weight, saying it is a different way of training and playing he's adjusting to. BJ, I know you played with Taco, so what similarities do we see in Mustafa's playing style?
Yeah, Gabby, I think the biggest thing is that, you know, the rim protection, the ability to block shots as the Knights right there going to retain possession as Jordan Ivy Curry almost turned the basketball over. But it's really just the fact that their defense is ahead of their offense, right, Austin? You remember when Taco first arrived on campus, he was always able to protect the rim. He was always able to be a force in the paint as Jalen Sellers is checking in for the Knights. But that's really the biggest thing right now. They're both defensive guys who are developing into offensive players.
And no question, Chiam way further along at this point in his career. And Jalen Sellers makes his season debut. 6'4" junior from Columbus, Georgia, injured in a preseason scrimmage against Florida Gulf Coast. He was taken off on a stretcher, available for the first time today. He was UCF's leading scorer a year ago at almost 16 a game.
Yeah, I mean, one of the best slashers in all of the Big 12, honestly, Austin. I mean, this is a guy that when he puts his head down and is able to attack with his left hand towards the rim, it's like he is shot out of a cannon towards the basket. So a real bright spot for the Knights to have Jalen Sellers back here tonight.
Niels Mahofsky boards the miss. Hall in transition. Lob for Sellers. Welcome back, Jalen Sellers.
And that's the dynamic he brings to this Knight team, right? That ability to get out and transition and make plays above the rim. That is Jalen Sellers basketball right there in a nutshell.
Oh, what a moment. He's been waiting all season to get on the floor, and his first shot attempt is an alley-oop. Sellers, hesitation and step back, opted to give it up to Darius Johnson, but he's got it right back. Quick first step. Mahofsky drives it, his pull-up. Off the backboard, he was looking for a foul call.
Yeah, you got to get up off that one. Still had about 11 on the shot clock. No need to rush into a tough two if you're Mahofsky.
There's Kent Jackson into the game for the first time for Jacksonville. He's missed on a couple of threes. Ball knocked away from Kendall Munson. And a foul call against UCF. Jalen Sellers didn't play the first 10 games of the season. Comes in off the bench here against Jacksonville and makes his presence known right away. Finishing the dunk. Welcome back, Jalen Sellers.
Challenge, and I mean, those last two are out in Arizona, right? That's a 3-4 hour flight. Excuse me, more like a 4-hour flight. You're looking at just a change in time difference. It's going to be a real difficulty for the Knights there in that first 3 out of 5 on the road.
Dior Johnson in off the bench with a finger roll on the baseline. UCF started the game 0 for 4. They've made 6 of their last 8 shots. After Texas Tech, Kansas comes here, and after UCF beat Kansas here last year, I imagine Bill Self's going to have his team ready to play in that game.
It's rare that we say that Kansas is coming in with a chip on their shoulder, but you can absolutely expect that Bill Self wants to beat the Knights as Robert McCray is able to get to a nice 10-foot spot for a floater. But, oh yes, Coach Bill Self is going to have his team ready to go. I don't think we ever would have thought that Kansas would have UCF circled on their schedule, but I guarantee you, Coach Self is like, no, we got to get one in Orlando this year.
Jayhawks right now the #1 team in the country. Dior Johnson aggressive. He's got 4 points, made both of his field goal attempts. Guy who only averages 3 points per game. Arias open 3 in transition. Sellers may have gotten a piece of that.
And what people don't realize, that the Coach Dawkins Bill Self rivalry actually goes back to his days at Stanford, when Coach Dawkins' Stanford team knocked Bill Self's Kansas team out of the NCAA tournament in the Sweet 16. So this Coach Dawkins Bill Self rivalry goes a little ways back.
Johnson not able to make it 3 for 3. That one blocked by Wilkeji. McCray in transition, picked up by Dior Johnson. And McCray, the last 2 drives give you a sense of his skill set.
Yeah, I mean, he's always under control, right? He has the athleticism to use it when he needs it, but he also understands angles, he understands body placement. He's just a high IQ guy.
Challenging Sellers, couldn't finish, but he'll be on the line.
But did you notice how he decelerated right there, Austin? I mean, it looks like he's just gonna take off and explode to the rim, and then he almost just slows his body down with tremendous body control to be able to make a nice, strong play at the rim. A lot of players get in those situations, they get out of control, they go flying through the air, flailing everywhere. Not Robert McCray. He's a very smart basketball player to go along with his elite athleticism.
McCray now with 7 points, and they've been important. He scored now the last 5 for Jacksonville. Felt like UCF was starting to build some momentum and had a chance to extend the margin. He has kept JU in it.
Yeah, well, you can tell with the poise, right, Austin? That's kind of what you're talking about. He's not the point guard for this team, but he sort of acts as the de facto leader from that off-guard position, just with his approach, the way he approaches the game, the way he is on the floor, right? Guys look to him as the player when times get hard.
Sellers sits after playing 3 minutes. Ivy Curry back in and knocking down a three.
Whenever you break a press and you have numbers, you got to look to score. It's a terrific job of the Knights, not just looking to break the press, but looking to score once they got through the pressure.
This is a lineup we have not seen very much of on the floor right now for UCF. They don't communicate. Easy backside rebound and put back for Zach Bell.
Yeah, I mean, just no one on the backside to cover the little cagey miss, except for Zach Bell from JU.
Ivy Curry drops it off. Nice feed for Tyler Hendricks. No one back defensively for UCF. Bell with the layup.
And I can tell you exactly why that happens. Darius Johnson is not in the game. He is the point guard. Niels Mahowski's typically the backup point guard. The point guard always has the rim, right? That time, Dior Johnson nor Jordan Ivy Curry immediately went back on the miss, on the turnover, excuse me. It's the little things like that when a point guard isn't on the floor that can happen.
And immediately after that happened, Darius Johnson up off the UCF bench and set to check in. Ivy Curry from the corner.
I mean, Austin, in recent memory, has UCF had a player with the ability to just heat up and be a microwave like Jordan Ivy Curry? You know, I mean, obviously Jalen Sellers is terrific attacking the rim, you know, but I can't remember in recent memory a guy that you just put in the game and you know he's good for points.
Ivy Curry now down on the floor. Knights looking to run. Dior Johnson drops it off. Chium scores it. 7'2", runs the floor, able to make that catch and stay under control.
I mean, we can't overstate how challenging of a play that is to catch the ball at his knees, gather himself off 1 foot, and have the body control to finish that play. That is why Mustafa Chium is really an NBA prospect as he continues to develop.
Arias, tough drive over the outstretched arm of Chium.
Well, that's one of his challenges, right? He's got to get his conditioning better, and he has to do a better job of defending ball screens as guards come off and look to attack it.
Ivy Curry feeling it. 3 threes for Jordan Ivy Curry, and he's got 11. Rips it away from Arias and now leads the break. 3 on 2, pull up 3. The heat check falls short. That gets us to a timeout. 6:46 to go. Now, Mike O'Donnell's usually my broadcast partner for these games. Coming up, we'll show you. Hey, where's Mike? Find out.
Didn't have to talk, right? The Hawk didn't have to talk.
They say it's, you got to walk and chew gum at the same time.
Exactly.
It's not easy to flap your arms and talk basketball at the same time. Enrico Borio in for the first time for JU.
That St. Joe's Hawk does that all game long. Did you know that? That's the tradition, is that throughout the timeouts, and when the game is going, he is waving all game long.
Mascots don't get enough respect.
They don't get enough respect
for the effort they've got to put in.
The way they get into character, you know, true method actors from start to finish.
Borio grabs Hall as he dove to the bucket. A foul out high. Of course, nobody's better than Nitro.
Yeah, well, we have a bit of bias, but I would tend to agree with you. You know, Nitro is always the best, putting smiles on the kids' faces and getting the Knights faithful into it. He doesn't have a tradition, though, like the Hawk. You know, we need to maybe create something, like he gets a sword, you know, something to be a little more active like the Hawk is in a basketball game.
So we got some ideas.
Yeah,
throw some stuff
we'll workshop it.
Hall off the glass. He's got 5. UCF now with its largest lead at 11.
Now, right now, the Knights are going to a 2-3 zone to look to take the Jacksonville Dolphins out of their rhythm and hopefully keep Robert McCray out of the paint.
This was something Jordan Mincy talked about. They had to be ready for and attack UCF's changing defenses. Borio quickly got it up with that left hand.
Yeah, really nice move from Borio. Came to a nice 2-foot jump stop before attacking Mustafa Chium, right? If he comes to that stop nice and early like he did, it's really hard for the shot blocker to get over there and contest.
Borio, native of Brazil, moved to South Florida before his junior year of high school. Played at North Broward Prep. Quick hands from Zach Bell. And a jump ball. The arrow will give it to Jacksonville.
Smooth, slow start to Big 12 play for the men's or women's teams here at UCF.
And it doesn't project to get any easier as you look at the strength of the conference going forward.
Yeah.
Arias stripped away by Coleman. 3-on-1. Coleman will keep it himself. Cheam free throw line jumper is good.
Yeah. Mustafa Cheam able to pick up the pieces right there, the Debo Coleman rim attack. You see guys go in for those dunks like that, and they're looking to get a foul call. Debo Coleman didn't get up high enough that time. I'm going to be honest with you. He didn't get up high enough to get the call. You get above the rim, right? It looks like you might throw one down. A lot of times officials will just give you that call because it's such a violent play. Not that time, Mr. Coleman.
Coleman still trying to get back to 100% after a knee injury in the early part of the season. Extra step from Munson, it's traveling.
Yeah, and great hands right here from Debo Coleman to create the opportunity. And then as he goes into attack Borio, you're going to see wasn't all the way up there, but this is what you have teammates for, right? Mustafa Chum says, look, man, I got your back. I'll put it in the hole for us.
7 points for Chum. He's a perfect 3 for 3 from the field. Darius Johnson stepped through the trap and threw it away.
And that's exactly what the trap is intended to do, right? Speed up the offensive player and force him into an errant pass. It's a great strategy play right there from Coach Jordan Mincy, right?
Munson looking for a foul call. He's turned it over on back-to-back possessions. Bounce pass Hall. That'll be a block against Borio. And 2 free throws coming up for Hall, who went down awkwardly. And that will take us to a timeout. 3:35 remaining. Keyshawn Hall up to his feet. He'll shoot free throws when you come back.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, but more so just to touch on the having a father figure in your life, you know, for the guys that play basketball and have that blessing, honestly, you know, to have that in their life is just, you know, you can't put a price value on it, right? You can't put, you can't really even describe how much it means to you as a player because, you know, a father, a lot of times is going to be that guy to tell you what you need to know and not what you want to hear, right? And that's so impactful for guys just to have that in their life. So for all the players that have their father in their life, and it would have a huge impact on them, it's just it's a huge advantage to a lot of guys.
Got a glimpse of Keldon Johnson, UCF's Director of Player Development. He is Darius Johnson's father. Gets the opportunity to coach his son day in and day out.
Yep.
There's Simi Wokeji knocking down a 3. There's Keldon, himself a 1,000-point scorer at the college level, along with Darius's older brother. Hall open 3, an immediate answer. Keyshawn Hall in double figures with 10.
And I mean, there were countless hours of Darius Johnson in the gym with his father and his brother Xavier Johnson, where they were just at it all the time when these guys were in high school, up every morning, 6:30 in the gym, as Robert McCray uses a nice step-through move there to finish around the rim, so crafty. But I mean, Darius Johnson as well as Robert McCray, you know, both their fathers being so important in their life and their development as not just basketball players, but as young men.
Ivy Curry pulls and gets a friendly bounce off the front rim. 4th three of this first half for Jordan Ivy Curry. He's up to 14, and that's the UCF lead right now. Hard to believe UCF started the game 0 for 4. Since then, they've made 15 of their 22 shots.
And a lot of it was sparked by Jordan Ivy Curry, right? Catching his rhythm, catching his groove now, and he's just been able to excel.
Hall got both Payne and Wilkeji in the air. So Hall back to the free throw line.
Jacksonville has to do a better job of getting back and matched up in transition. They're allowing these attacks and these entry passes into the paint to just be a little too easy right now for UCF, right? There's not enough resistance, Austin. I mean, you're seeing it. The UCF's able to move the ball around the perimeter with ease. They're able to drive the paint with relative minimal resistance, right? The ball is just moving very freely all around the floor. You got to be a little more defensive resistance from Jacksonville. And you got to match up with Jordan Ivy Curry. that's another piece of this whole thing. You got to make sure you know where he is out on the floor. Knight's gonna throw on just a little full court 1-on-1, 5-on-5 full court pickup. But for other thing for Jacksonville is where do they go for offense outside of Robert McCray, right? We've seen Zimi Wilkeji have a few moments, right? But this is really the guy that creates everything for the Knights offensively. For Jacksonville offensively.
Keyshawn Hall at 6'7", rejecting McCray's shot that time, and Benny Williams is fouled.
Once again, just another JU turnover is going to lead to the Knights' ability to get out and run, but Keyshawn Hall so long with that 6'7" frame blocks that was a lefty-on-lefty block right there. And again, just allows UCF to get out and play in the open court. And yeah, I see you, Keyshawn. Basketball's fun when you're able to force turnovers and play out free.
Hall really is a huge player for this team going forward. He can be a small ball 4. He can be a bigger 3. He's a guy that if UCF is going to have success in the Big 12, Keyshawn Hall is going to be a big part of it.
100%. I mean, he really is a true X factor, right? It's hard to envision real success for UCF in the Big 12 if Keyshawn Hall isn't giving them, 10 points, 7 rebounds, right? Big defensive, step up possessions against some of those forwards that they're going to play against in that league, right? They're going to need Keyshawn Hall to be, that third option offensively and to be one of their better front court defenders.
UCF in the midst of a 7-0 run as Wilkeji pulls from deep. Coleman not able to initiate the break the way he wanted. Benny Williams trying to get right to the rim against Stephon Payne. Here's Ivy Curry. He's had the hot hand, got fouled, and will be at the line.
This is no exaggeration. I don't usually engage in hyperbole. So when I say this, I mean it. It's one of the best scorers in the Big 12. And that's saying something. With the 16-team league now, you add Utah, you add Arizona State, Colorado. Obviously, you still have Kansas, Houston, Baylor, all these great teams in the Big 12. This guy, there's nobody that you just give the ball to and say clear out that can just go get one much better than him. I'm going to be honest with you.
He's been in double figures every game this season for UCF. Only guy who has that distinction. And he's starting to shoot a little better, including today, this first half. 12 made threes in the last 2.5 games.
Exactly. And I mean, the games where he was not in double figures, a lot of it was just because he seemed passive, right? He was not as aggressive as I'm sure Coach Dawkins would like him to be. But, I mean, the way he can just go get a bucket. It's natural. It's not like drill work. It's not something he spent a lot of time like being a robot. He just has a natural feel for how to score the basketball.
16 first half points for Jordan Ivy Curry. McCray with a 3. That was contested well by Hall. And about an 8-second difference between game clock and shot clock as Johnson walks it up. Hall looking for room with 6 on the shot clock. Lost the handle, but got hit. Foul against Payne. And UCF, which has lived at the line here in the late stages of the first half, will get 2 more free throws.
And that's just got to grind your gears as a player on the floor. And if you're Coach Mincy, to commit a reach-in foul with under 5 seconds on the shot clock, I mean, you're just bailing out the other team at that point. You got to force the other team to put the ball in the hole. You can't make a play like that late in the shot clock. Play good defense for 25 seconds. You got to finish the possession and force the other team to put the ball in the hole themselves. Don't bail them out.
Second foul on Payne. He sits, and they will wipe away the made free throw as Coleman stepped in early. That would have given UCF a new season high in first half points. McCray double teamed with 3. Borio lets it go and hits from 3 as time expires in the first half. Well, virtually everything went right for UCF. 11 assists on their 15 made field goals. Also got to the free throw line at a high rate, 11 of 12 from the stripe. So everything went right offensively for UCF in that first half. And an opportunity in transition to start the second half. Hall lost it, and it's out of bounds to JU. Good hands from Zach Bell.
Yeah, what looked like it was going to be an easy run-out attempt there for Keyshawn Hall. It's a great job of Jacksonville defense converging on him at the rim. And if you're Keyshawn Hall, you got to be stronger with that ball to convert that play, man. That's, you know, in the Big 12, things are not going to get any easier. It's coming over from George Mason, right? You got to make those kind of plays.
A floater by Jakari Spence. JU with some energy coming out of the locker room here to start the final 20 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, if you're JU, the goal is you got to cut this thing to single digits by the time you get to about 11, 12 minutes there in the second media timeout, right? That's got to be their goal. Let's get this thing to single digits by about 12 minutes.
Something between Doug Sermons and Donovan Rivers. Rivers said something that really irked Sermons, and so he decided to head over to Jordan Mincy. And 1 free throw for Spence. Didn't score in the first half. Unable to convert the 3-point play. Offensive rebound for JU.
When UCF, this is what you don't want to have happen, right? Coming out of the second half, coming out slow. You allow JU to build some confidence here. Next thing you know, you have yourself you have a much more difficult ball game in the second half than you would have liked, as well as you played in the first half.
And McCray trying to find Spence. Even if that pass had been converted, no chance of getting a shot up before the shot clock expired.
JU has trouble sometimes creating good passing angles for themselves, right? Like Robert McCray is one of the best passers in all of the Atlantic Sun. It's not necessarily his fault. His teammate needs to give him an angle and a window to throw the basketball to him.
JU goes to a 1-3-1, and Jordan Ivy Curry is ready for that. His 5th 3 of the game. Season high 22 for Ivy Curry came against Florida Atlantic. He's got 19 here. Spence steps through. Rivers trying to tip it, and Chium grabs the net. Yeah. So that's going to be basket interference and give a deuce to Donovan Rivers.
This is the hard part when you go zone against a shooter like Jordan Ivy Curry. Nobody's matched up with him out on the perimeter. Even when you go zone, you've got to still know who your matchup is, right, Austin? You have a man within your zone. But that time, no one from JU matches up with Ivy Curry.
Dolphins quickly back to man-to-man. Hall spinning on Wokeji. Rivers came over to challenge, but Hall able to put it in.
Whenever Keyshawn Hall is able to spin back and get to his left hand, he's just that much more comfortable. It doesn't mean he's going to finish with his left, but he just makes better plays once he attacks with the left hand.
Darius Johnson comes out of the pack with it. Here's Hall stepping through, and they'll get McCray for the foul.
And just another JU turnover, huh, Austin? I mean, these runouts for the Knights have been their biggest asset throughout this game. The fact that Coach Johnny Dawkins' defense has been able to create these turnovers. That's the 10th of the night for Jacksonville.
Hall favoring his right ankle. He landed awkwardly on the last drive. You could tell he was bothered by it at the defensive end of the floor, but quickly got up to full speed. And he was wincing a bit after that foul call. Able to step up and hit both free throws. Hall now with 17. So Hall and Ivy Curry have combined for 36 of UCF's 54.
And just a poor pass right there by Spence. He's got to get that ball up and over the defense.
Ivy Curry kicked out his legs, trying to get a foul against Rivers. Good vision by the officials not to call it. Ivy Curry slaps it away defensively. It'll stay with Jacksonville.
See how active Mustafa Chiama is, right? The way he can go out and extend and defend the ball screen, then get back into play and defend his man like he did right there. That's part of the reason why he's not just a good rim defender, but he has a lot of potential to be a good defender out on the perimeter.
Got up high to block that shot, reached it at its apex. That was near the top corner of the backboard. Incredible reach from Mustafa Chiam. Knights turn it over. Spence has been active. He tees up McCray for a three. Not the best part of his game, just 29% from three-point range, but McCray able to knock it down. He's got 13.
Yeah, if you get a player as good as him, Austin, you know, when just those open shots like that in rhythm and transition, I mean, even for the guys that aren't great outside shooters, that's just a good rhythm look for you. It's one of those, no matter who you are, the coach is like, you got to shoot that. You know what I mean? You got to take those because it's just in the rhythm of the game.
Fouls on Bell, it's his third. That's a tough call. Coleman was out of control with nowhere to go. Got bailed out on the baseline. So Bell will sit. A quick inbound to Hall. He is a focal point of UCF inbounds plays. Stepping through on Rivers, shot blocked by Munson. McCray splits a double team. Chiam knocks it away. Spence trying to chase down Darius Johnson, and a foul call. We've talked a lot about Ivy Curry and Hall. Darius Johnson, no points, only 2 field goal attempts.
So for us to be talking about how good of an offensive output that was for the Knights in the first half, for Darius Johnson to still be scoreless in the game, you know, in some respects, it's a bright sign. It's a good sign, right? I mean, because one of your better offensive players hadn't scored, and other players are stepping up and being effective now. Is that something you want to make a habit out of? No. It's not a consistent recipe for success, but it's good to see other players making plays.
Coleman downhill. No one at the rim there defensively. Chiam with a rebound. And reach in against Payne. That'll take us to a timeout. Third foul on Stephon Payne. And Mustafa Chiam will have free throws on the other side of the break. 18-point lead for UCF. He talked about getting ready for this game is that UCF can hurt you in so many different ways.
Yep.
This is the most versatility we have seen offensively in the last several years from UCF.
Yeah, I think a big part of that is the balance that they play with, right, Austin? This offense isn't really predicated around creating one player to sort of make the plays, right? It's not like Darius Johnson's in a Boston every time they come down the floor and they allow him to create everything for the team, right? They don't just clear it out for Jordan Ivy Curry, right? They really run a motion offense that allows whoever has the best opportunity to make a play, whether it's Ivy Curry or it's Keyshawn Hall, if Mustafa Chum has a play right down in the post, or their lead guard Darius Johnson can make something happen on the perimeter. It's really just a balanced overall offense.
1 of 2 for Chiam. UCF has missed only twice at the line, 14 of 16. McCray can't get it to go, and it's pulled down by Ivy Curry.
Now, yes, the scoring comes from those three right at the top, but when you watch them play, you're not going to be able to just, key in on saying, well, look, they're going to run down the court, they're going to give the ball to Darius Johnson, he's going to make everything happen, right? That's not how they play, or they're going to feed the post. They don't really have one point of emphasis. They kind of just let their guys do what they do.
Rivers pulls down the miss by Ivy Curry. And we've seen flashes from other guys, right? Debo Coleman coming off a 20-point game against Tulsa, his season high. Mustafa Chiam is showing he can be a reliable scorer over the course of the last several games.
Yeah, well, a phrase that Coach Johnny Dawkins brings up all the time is that the cream will rise to the top, right? As Enrico Borio knocks down a triple from the corner. He always talks about the cream rising to the top, which essentially means the best players will shine, right? But I'm not placing an emphasis on any one player to highlight them more than others. The best players will just stand out within the flow of the offense.
Borio's got 8. Hall, yo-yo at the top. Score it plus the foul.
And the best thing that Keyshawn Hall has done tonight is that he's been very decisive, right? You see when he receives this basketball, boom. That's a quick move, right? There's times where the ball will get stuck with him and he'll do too much dribbling, right? That time, that's a quick pound between the legs. Watch, you see the basketball, between the legs, crossover, boom, gets into his action, right? And from the top of the key, you always have the option to go left or right because it's hard for the defense to load up and help side. So that's a good read by Keyshawn Hall.
Hall matched Ivy Curry with 19, unable to get to 20. Jalen Sellers back in for UCF. Sellers making a season debut, played 3 minutes in the first half. First time he touched the ball was an alley-oop dunk. Good to see number 24 back out there for UCF. He rebounds the area, Smith's 3. Nice one-handed pass from Darius Johnson. Didn't result in a shot. Boy, right on the money.
Well, this is a unit that hasn't seen any time pretty much all season, right? Austin, as Darius Johnson loads up and knocks down his first triple. This is the first look you're getting at, really, in the preseason. Knights fans and basketball insiders would tell you would be the best Knights lineup, right? Darius Johnson at the 1. You have Jordan Ivy Curry and Jalen Sellers on the wings, and then, Keyshawn Hall and Mustafa Chiam on the front court. So if the Knights want to be what they want to be as the season moves on, this is really the unit that is going to be their unit that's going to have to finish games, in January and February.
Gabriella's got more on Darius Johnson.
DJ has been a key component to UCF these past 4 years and has just received his degree in hospitality this December. Speaking with DJ, his reflection of being at UCF is the way Coach Dawkins has helped shape him into a young man on and off the court. He takes pride in being a player that has been under the same program and coaching for his collegiate career. His goal is to finish this season with a national championship while leaving his legacy. The next step we can see DJ is playing in the NBA or overseas. He is making critical sacrifices to make sure he is in the best position to do so and to be able to take care of his parents the same way they have for him. What do you guys say about DJ's basketball career this far?
Yeah, I mean, Darius Johnson is a guy that I've known, since he was 15 years old, 14, 15 years old in the 9th grade. And the way he's matured from those days, he's always been competitive. He's always been a fiery guy. But now seeing him grow into a mature leader of this UCF program, it's just a lot of pride in his development. And obviously he'll have options and choices, in his next steps, whether that is continuing to play basketball at the professional level, or utilizing that hospitality degree to do something impactful. But I can speak for Coach Kelvin Johnson and his mother, Mary Johnson, and they're extremely proud of both Darius Johnson and his brother Xavier Johnson for not only the basketball players that they've been, but the young men that they've grown into.
3rd all-time in steals at UCF, 4th all-time in assists, the top 5 in multiple categories, certainly representative of his impact on this program over the last 4 years. 2 free throws for Chris Arias, promising freshman for JU, and one of 4 local products on this roster. It's been a big priority for Jordan Mincy, wanted a stronger connection to the Jacksonville basketball community. Johnson whips it out of a double team, and Chium hits the mid-range jumper.
Yeah, and honestly, great pass right there from Darius Johnson to find Mustafa Chium, but he could have gotten a little closer to the rim there. Also, there was nobody in front of him. That's one of those where you make it, nobody says anything. Nobody complains, it's all right, but when you miss, it's like, why did you dunk it?
Chium, quick hands. Benny Williams down to the floor for it. Mahovsky battling. It ends up with Spence. He throws it up backward, followed up by Arias. Score it, plus the foul.
And that's the way you stick with it right there. If you're Chris Arias, great job right here to switch this. Darius Johnson with the quick hands as well as Mahovsky. Tremendous effort to get on the floor, but then if you're Benny Williams, you want to hold on to this basketball. Mustafa Chium gets in there and makes a play, and then Chris Arias just ends up being the last one to come up with it. That was almost like a pinball sequence, wasn't it? Or foosball. Is that what it is? With you twirl the knobs and the ball just keeps going back and forth.
It was a great play by Munson to get it to Arias.
Yes.
He converts the 3-point play, so Arias has 7. Jordan Mincy really excited about the future for Arias. Committed to JU since his junior year in high school, again from the Jacksonville area. He is a guy with a really promising future.
I mean, and a young guy, like you said, being from Jacksonville, he has a lot of pride putting on that JU uniform, right? So he's one of those guys that Coach Mincy got to make sure he can keep around up there in North Florida.
Another assist for Darius Johnson. Sellers has his 2nd bucket.
And I want to make it clear when I say keep Chris Arias around up there in North Florida, I'm just speaking geographically. All right, one of Jacksonville's biggest rivalry is the North Florida Ospreys, so only a geographical reference.
Johnson, quick hands, up ahead for Sellers. Tight pass there. Those two weren't very far apart on the floor. JU able to get it back. Borio, corner 3. Well, how about the performance by Enrico Borio? He has 11 3 for the freshman from Brazil.
Yeah, you gotta like what you're seeing from Enrico Borio tonight. Hasn't been very consistent throughout the season, but he's came to play tonight as Benny Williams gets into a nice mid-range jump shot in the middle of that Jacksonville zone. But Enrico Borio is a guy who you're looking at, man, if you have a shooter over there in the corner like him, that might create a little more space for driving lanes for Jacksonville.
Feeling it.
Yeah, but those are the ones.
Sellers was there to challenge it. Lucas Yotsus unable to save it in the corner, so it'll stay with Jacksonville as we hit the under 12 timeout.
Keyshawn Hall from George Mason. There's a learning curve to just learning each other, right? And as the season's moved on, these guys have gotten better and better at playing with one another. And I think that's why you're starting to see a little more comfort out on the floor from this group.
Well, KG with the missed 3 for Jacksonville. JU 5 of 17 from 3. UCF 8 of 14, 57%. Coleman baseline drive, and he got hit.
And I think you'd agree, Austin, a lot of the reason you're seeing that percentage, and I'm sure what's pleasing Coach Dawkins, is that they're not settling for their outside 3-point attempts, right? A lot of the shots they've gotten from behind the arc tonight have been good open looks. The only one that I can think of is the Jordan Ivy Curry heat check, and that was after he made about 3 in a row. So, good percentages from behind the arc are often a reflection of good shot attempts, right?
And you're starting to see more continuity from this offense. Johnny Dawkins talked a lot in the preseason about how it would take time, and it will continue to take time as Jalen Sellers and Mikey Williams get integrated into this lineup. But UCF starting to look much more comfortable with this continuity offense that they have installed with new coach Adam Hood, his first year as an assistant after spending the last 8 seasons at UTSA.
Yeah, I mean, Coach Hood, essentially considered the offensive coordinator, a new term to college basketball. We're used to hearing that in football, but, the next big question as Robert McCray puts in another little right-handed jump hook in the lane is, how do you integrate Jalen Sellers into this unit, right? You're starting to find a little continuity with sort of your big three. Well, how does Jalen Sellers fit into this offense, right? Is he going to be a player that you're going to allow him to just come back and be himself? Does he have to fit into a role? What I would anticipate is you're going to put Jalen Sellers in situations where he's just able to attack, right? You want to put him in those plays where those transition opportunities. You want to put him in intentionally called sets where he's attacking downhill to his left hand, because you don't want a player as talented as him overthinking his fit on this nice team.
McCray with an extension and a discard of Coleman gets whistled for the offensive foul. I don't know if we'll see Sellers again. He played 7 minutes total, 4 points, made both of his shots.
And he's not that tall. He's sitting on 2 blue pads. It's easier on his back, and it's supposed to help keep his back loose. For longtime basketball fans, we in the basketball community refer to that as the Phil Jackson. If you remember Phil Jackson, longtime coach for the Los Angeles Lakers, he always sat up high like that over there on the bench, and it was supposed to be good for his back and everything. But Phil Jackson was much older. In Jalen Sellers' case, it's just supposed to help keep his back loose because he doesn't have to get all the way down to the low seats.
Sellers suffered a back injury in the preseason, a scrimmage against Florida Gulf Coast, way back on October 20th. Great to see him back, making his season debut today. Payne inside, 2 defenders there for UCF to make the shot more difficult. Dior Johnson trying to find Yotsus. He was turned over, and then Yotsus grabbed Jakari Spence.
That's one of the best things the Knights have done, in their game against Tulsa last weekend as well as tonight. They've done a great job of playing defense without fouling, Austin. I mean, only 8 free throw attempts for Jacksonville into this latter part of the second half. Coach Dawkins has been preaching to his team that we need to play better defense without fouling, and they're seeming to heed that now.
Spence flips it up and in. He's fouled. So he'll hold to the line for a chance at a 3-point play. That's one thing that UCF has been much better at this season than in any season of recent memories. You get another look at the bucket by Spence. They've shot 72 more free throws than their opponents coming into the game today. They make almost 20 free throws per game. That's top 15 in the country.
Yeah, I mean, and you recall it because you were on the call for that game. Game 1 against Texas A&M. That was really the difference in the game, was the free throw disparity. So, the Knights do a good job. Keyshawn Hall gets to the free throw line. Darius Johnson, when he's aggressive, he gets teams in the bonus, and he's so physical. And a lot of times, he gets to the free throw line not on shot attempts, just from reaching, bumping, right? Defenders trying to keep him out of the paint. So that's definitely been a plus. And on the defensive end, the Knights do a good job of not picking up some of those ticky-tack fouls.
Hall's got it on the block against Wokeji. We'll get Wokeji for a foul, so Hall will shoot his 10th and 11th free throws of the game.
Yeah. Keyshawn Hall being physical down there. I'm not sure exactly what more Zimi Wokeji is supposed to do. It looked like he went straight up and down from my perspective, but you know what they say? The officiating crew calls it a foul, then it's a foul.
Something you resigned yourself to a while back, right?
Yes, yeah. Usually it was an offensive foul that I picked up, like a charge or a push off or something weak like that, where it's like, let the boys play. That was always my motto. Just let us handle it out here, okay? You guys step in when something big or egregious happens. Other than that, we can handle it.
Except when you were driving and there was some contact, right?
It was egregious. That's what I thought it was egregious. I thought it was clear cut that it was a foul, all right?
Hall hits both free throws. He's up to 21. 5 off his career high. Payne is hit by Coleman. 8:40 to go. UCF led by 18 at the half, and that is the margin right now with 8:40 to go. That's the 7th team foul on the Knights, so a 1-and-1 for Stephon Payne.
And if you're looking at Jacksonville overall, big picture, before they get into Atlantic Sun play, where are their areas of improvement? It's got to be taking care of the basketball, number one, Austin. Like, that's the biggest thing that Jacksonville has got to do a better job of. 14 turnovers again tonight. They average 15 on the season. Can't allow teams to get out and get those easy runouts. And then they got to find some more shooting, right? I mean, this is a team that just struggles to make three-pointers. Only 5 made threes tonight on about 29%. So got to do a better job of taking care of the basketball. And no, they're not going to be the 16-17 Golden State Warriors from deep. That's not going to happen. But can they find a way to get themselves better looks from behind the arc to create more space for driving lanes? I think they can.
It was a team that was picked to finish 5th in the ASUN in the preseason coaches poll. They got to the semifinals of last year's conference tournament after just a horrific regular season in the league. They only won 5 games, but they won 2 in the conference tournament and had a lead in the second half against Stetson before eventually falling in the semifinals. Spence gets into Darius Johnson's body and picks up a foul. And a chance for JU to get a little closer with 8:20 to go.
Great job of attacking downhill right there by Jakari Spence. Just got into the body of the Knights defender and got himself back to the free throw line. And if you're Jacksonville, this is what you got to do. Slow this game down and drag this thing out as long as you can and look to make one more big push here to put a little pressure on UCF.
Spence has really been the focal point offensively for JU in this second half.
Well, Robert McCray with those 4 fouls has had to go to the bench. I mean, essentially been relegated to the sideline now. I would expect him to check back in once we get into this next media timeout, but you're absolutely right. Jakari Spence has kind of been leading the way here for this Jacksonville offense in the second half.
Spence didn't score in the first half, but he's got 7 here in the second half. 14-point game and a lot of game left. UCF without a bucket in more than 3.5 minutes. Darius Johnson saves them from another turnover.
Knight's gonna get into a double drag, but Darius Johnson just rejects it. Smart play.
Foul committed by Kent Jackson, another one of the Jacksonville natives on this roster. Jackson, a freshman who comes in to shoot the ball off the bench. Steadily, we've seen UCF bring its first 5 back out there. So it's Ivy Curry, Darius Johnson, Jalen Sellers, Keyshawn Hall, and Mustafa Chiam now. Quiet game scoring-wise for Darius Johnson. That's just his 4th point, but he does have 3 assists and 5 rebounds.
Yeah, and you know, it's working tonight. That's what I'll say. It's working tonight. Say what you want to say. I like to see him more aggressive offensively, looking to score. I think that creates more opportunities for easier plays for his teammates when he's aggressive to score. But all in all, it's been a good floor game, a good point guard game for Darius Johnson tonight.
But given the return of Jalen Sellers, does Darius Johnson have to score in order for this team to reach its potential in the Big 12?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is he's such an effective scorer because he shoots so well from the outside that that's one way to score. Just put it back in the hole. But yeah, I still think you need Darius Johnson to be a double-digit scorer, right? Obviously, playmaking needs to be his #1 attribute, as well as strong perimeter defense against some of the guards he's going to see in the Big 12, right? Jeremy Roaches at Baylor, L.J. Cryer at Houston, you know, Harris down at Kansas. There's a lot of good guards in this league. Caleb Love at Arizona, but they are going to need him to score, yes.
7.
Well, you know, the game is the same on the road, and, you know, basketball is basketball. That all sounds good. But playing on the road is different. All right? There's a reason why teams in football compete so hard for home field advantage. It makes a difference. And in basketball, it's the same thing. atmospheres are different. Momentum swings are much harder to get on the road. You have to silence the crowd, so that's just another challenge, as well as stiff competition, that this Knights unit and this Knights team is going to have to overcome in that first 5 games in Big 12 play.
And UCF has not played a true road game
yet
this season. They played 3 neutral site games. Went 0-2 at the Greenbrier Classic in West Virginia, beat Tulsa at the Orange Bowl Classic. As Jalen Sellers is going to have to go quick. Shot clock down to 3. Sellers tried to go behind the back and turned it over.
I mean, I can recall when I was during my time, we had a 2-game stretch against Alabama and Missouri back-to-back. We had Alabama at home, handled Alabama at home pretty well. Wasn't much of an issue. Then we went on the road to play Missouri later on that weekend and lost to a worse Missouri team in an overtime game, mostly just because of the challenge of playing road basketball, right? It is much more challenging in college basketball than a lot of people give it credit for.
Mishandled by Sellers and a feed down low to Munson for the bucket and the foul. Seen JU get as close as 14 in this second half. And UCF got a couple of buckets. McCray comes back in a 16-point game with 6:11 to go.
Coach Mincy's team's going to be looking for Robert McCray to just apply a little bit of a spark here. Even if he takes a couple quick shots, that's all right in this situation, because if you're JU, you're running out of time to cut this lead down. They've done a good job of fighting and keeping it close, but as they say, close only counts in horseshoes.
Munson unable to convert the 3-point play. Gabriella's got more on the senior forward.
Yes, Kendall grew up playing with Orlando Magic player Paulo Banchero in Seattle, Washington. They played alongside from 5th grade through to high school. Paulo and Kendall faced each other in a high school championship in 2020, where Kendall defeated Paulo's team with Garfield High School. Speaking with Kendall, he spoke kind words about Paulo's character and talent as a friend and a teammate. He said Paulo hit a huge growth spurt, was one of those players you just knew was going to play a pro. It's probably such an unreal feeling to see one of your childhood teammates become a legend in the NBA, but at least Kendall will always have a one-up on that high school victory against him. BJ, do you have any similar stories with old teammates?
Oh, I mean, no, I had some tremendous players I played against in high school, from Joel Berry at Lake Highland Prep, a Final Four MVP, and Antonio Blakeney, who was tremendous at Oak Ridge High School. But I mean, Paulo Banchero is just on another level in terms of the success he's had so far. Could speak on him being here in Orlando. He's just been tremendous for the community, right? A terrific ambassador for Orlando sports. So I'll tell you what, all the Knights fans are cheering for Paulo Banchero.
Third block for Chiam at the defensive end, and Darius Johnson knocks down a 3 at the offensive end. And Chris Merlo gonna bring the officials together. Got some instructions from McCray, sending him over to the JU bench. And Chris Merlo on the right. Doug Sermons is the crew chief, and he is indicating that they're gonna review the action under the bucket after Darius Johnson's 3.
The last play is under review for a potential foul.
So they will head to the monitor. You talked about guys you played against in high school, played against Zion Williamson in the NCAA tournament.
Yep, played against Zion Williamson NCAA tournament. Obviously his incredible skill set he had at Duke, and everybody's just hoping he can get healthy and showcase his skills consistently on the NBA level. As you look, I didn't see much there, Austin. Not sure what the crew saw. There's Johnson, terrific move.
We do not have a foul on the play. The basket is good.
Yeah, not much else there to really look at.
Yeah, it looked like they were. Chris Merlo was referencing something off the ball underneath the bucket. Doug Sermon's going to come over and give BJ an explanation. So the 3 by Darius Johnson makes it a 21-point game. Johnson in double figures now with 12. UCF 4 players in double figures. Hall's got 21, 19 for Ivy Curry, 12 for Darius Johnson, and 10 for Mustafa Chiam.
And the crew was reviewing if Kendall Munson threw a full-arm shiver at one of the Knights players, but regardless, plays dead once the ball goes through the hoop. So if anything, it would have been a technical foul.
Dead ball technical.
And there was nothing there.
Go back to action. Borio looking for his 4th-3. That one deflected off the backboard. Rebounded by Chum. Tick down toward the 5-minute mark. UCF trying to close out a perfect 8-0 record in the home non-conference portion of the schedule. First time that UCF will be perfect at home in non-conference since 2011-12. Sellers with his first 3 of the season. 7 points for Jalen Sellers. He's made all 3 of his shots.
And in his limited time, he's looked good, right? I mean, he's looked like the traditional Jalen Sellers. You saw him, slam the one home in transition. That time, he knocks down the triple. So it's good to see him looking healthy and moving well.
Well, KG had it knocked away. Hall holds it up. The crowd starting to get excited as Mikey Williams, the transfer from Memphis, is at the scorer's table. This will be his first action of the year. Ivy Curry steps through Borio. Easy block for the freshman from Brazil.
Rico Borio at 6'8" just makes it hard for Jordan Ivy Curry to score over top, especially when he gets him stopped like that.
Chum out on the perimeter defending Wokeji. Good job there from the freshman center. McCray got a step on Ivy Curry. $17 for Rob McCray. He's above his season average despite the foul trouble.
Got to give a lot of kudos to Coach Mincy and the recruiting job he did in the offseason to keep Robert McCray as a part of his team. I mean, this is a guy that is, obviously a Power 5 caliber player that Coach Mincy has been able to keep around at Jacksonville, which is it's really good to see, right? Robert McCray gets to completely shine here. He's their player, preseason player of the year in the Atlantic Sun, so it's good to see that for a guy. Not everybody needs to go to a Power 5 school and things like that.
Reach-in foul against Ivy Curry. Free throws for JU on the other side of the break with Mikey Williams set to make his season debut.
Anticipation around his debut. Well, it's here now.
So for the first time this season, UCF has both Mikey Williams and Jalen Sellers available. This is not UCF's full roster because J.J. Taylor, who had been seeing significant minutes off the bench, is out. Not considered a serious injury, but unavailable for today. He also didn't play against Tulsa. There's Taylor, who's averaging 6 points per game and has been a big part of some close games for UCF, especially that opener against Texas A&M. Darius Johnson stays out there at the point. Dior Johnson, Hall, Williams, and Mustafa Chum. Shot clock down to 5. Williams mishandles the pass, and UCF turns it over with 2:47 to go. It's the one thing that Johnny Dawkins can point to in this offensive performance, which has been great all around. 17 turnovers, way more than he would like.
Oh yeah, far too many for Coach Johnny Dawkins. I mean, this is a team that's only averaged about 12 turnovers on the season, so they've done a pretty good job of taking care of the basketball this far, but not tonight. 22 points off turnovers for Jacksonville Dolphins, and then right there by Mikey Williams, just probably a little bit of nerves, man. Not really, sometimes you get too ahead of yourself, not focused on catching the ball first. We see it in football all the time, right?
Guys take their eyes off the ball,
yeah, exactly.
Thinking about what they can do after the catch.
Yep.
Jackson try to get it on the block to Borio. Good defense played by Tyler Hendricks, who comes into the game off the bench. Williams knocks it away from Borio. The freshman recovers. There's Tito Dang on the floor for the first time. His fadeaway is no good, and Hendricks pulls it down.
the biggest thing you have to do in these situations is to continue to just run your regular offense. Like every time he receives the basketball, great find right there. Find Yatsu's rolling to the rim. Nice setup for Mikey Williams, but when somebody like Mikey Williams checks into the game, the fans are yelling, score, score, shoot it, and you're not helping, right? Just continue to play the game the way you play traditionally, and those opportunities will present themselves. You don't want to force anything.
First bucket for Yotsus. Spence a little bit long. Coming up on 90 seconds to go. And a decisive victory for UCF to close out the non-conference schedule. Knights going to improve to 9-2. Hendricks mid-range. Falls off the rim, but there's Benny Williams.
Supreme athlete is Benny Williams, to say the least.
UCF scored more against Florida Atlantic. Knights got to the century mark in regulation. But I think this has been a crisper, cleaner offensive performance. And that game against FAU was up and down.
Yeah.
There were a lot of transition baskets. UCF has had a lot more continuity in the half court.
Yeah, well, one of the components of scoring a lot of points for teams sometimes is if the other team plays poor offense and they turn the ball over, they help you out when it comes to scoring. So it's not necessarily that, your offense is running like a well-oiled machine, but the other team sometimes plays poor enough to help you be even more effective on the offensive end. But I would say tonight, excluding the turnover number, the Knights have got what they wanted offensively. Now, you have to contribute some of that to Jacksonville not providing, the best resistance defensively. But we've seen a good all-around attack here for the Knights in this game.
Final minute, Johnny Dawkins will burn a timeout. And another crowd favorite will get a chance to check in. There is Pupa Warakunakro. More talented roster than Johnny Dawkins had a year ago. So sights set on higher expectations this year. 58.2 to go. Crowd has to be torn here between whether they want Warakunakro to score or they want Mikey Williams. There's Pooh getting inside, trying to set up Yotsus, who had turned his back to the ball.
Got to see the ball at all times if you're Rokas Yotsus. I'm going to tell you right now, it's going to be real hard for me to give critical analysis against Pupa Warakunakro, all right? There's nobody that plays hard. Look the way he switches out there on his man. He's going to be in good defensive position at all times, right? I've never seen Pooh put bad tape out on film. Look at that.
Shot clock under 5.
Good.
Dang gonna have to let it go from 3, and he buried it. So clock running with under 13 seconds to go. UCF will not shoot it again. And it is gonna be a 20-point victory in the final home game of 2024. Knights finish off a perfect home record in the non-conference for the first time since the 2011-12 season.